Tag TV and Tag Radio. Be seen and heard by both technology users and technology producers throughout the state of Georgia and around the world. Low cost, big benefits, powerhouse online branded video and audio has arrived. Tag TV, Tag Radio, there's a lot more to know. Imagine. John Lennon sang about it nearly a half-century ago. Imagine bringing together software engineers, entrepreneurs, and concerned citizens from all over the nation to collaboratively create, build, and invent new solutions to improve communities and the governments which represent them. One day, one single unified national community engagement that will take place simultaneously in cities all around America. A national day of civic hacking. That's right, I said hacking. Greetings, everyone. It's Tuesday, April 2nd, 2013, and this is Tech Talk with Technology Association of Georgia President Tino Mandela. I'm your guest host, Frank Baia. A hacker? Well, it may not be what you think. A hacker is actually one who combines excellence, playfulness, cleverness, and exploration in performed activities. The National Day of Civic Hacking takes place this coming June 15th, an opportunity to do what is quintessentially American. Roll up our sleeves, get involved, and work together to build a better America. Imagine a day to collaborate and create solutions, leveraging the expertise and entrepreneurial spirit of those outside government institutions to drive meaningful technology-based solutions for federal, state, and local governments. Up to the Tech Talk, Michael Brennan, who leads mass collaboration projects related to technology and social impact at SecondMuse. Those projects include the National Day of Civic Hacking and NASA's International Space App Challenge. He has a Ph.D. in computer science from Drexel University and was a recipient of the J. Modi Memorial Award and featured on the Drexel University magazine. Michael is passionate about being a catalyst for positive social change through open technology communities, socially conscious software development, and free and open access to the Internet. The toughest challenges are not one community's alone. Imagine a unique opportunity to work together to improve government and develop technology that will make the world a better place. Imagine no more than the National Day of Civic Hacking as we speak with strategic and operational lead, SecondMuse's Michael Brennan. This edition of Tech Talk is brought to you by GlobalSpeak.com, new media consultants, corporate video and audio communications, video and audio production and distribution, live and virtual event production. Tag TV and Tag Radio is a service of GlobalSpeak.com, creatively delivering powerful marketing, video, and audio solutions. Mike, welcome to Tech Talk.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Well, I know we're going to build up to a pretty interesting event, and that's an actual National Day of Civic Hacking, but I think it probably would serve our audience well to get a general understanding of the philosophy or the concept of civil hacking. So why don't you kind of go into that a little bit?
Sure. Well, first I think it might be useful to define what even the term hacking means, because oftentimes people hear the term hacking and they think of that person in a black ski mask that's at their computer that's getting into their computer and doing bad things to it.
I saw a T-shirt. I saw a T-shirt the other day that said "Occupy Waffle House," and so I think most of our listeners would think that was hacking. But go ahead.
No, so the idea of hacking is actually much broader than that and more neutral than that. Hacking is a methodology. It's a tool. Hacking is about looking at a problem, looking at something you face, and looking at ways you can approach it in different ways. To me, the car mechanic is a hacker when they try to come up with a way to fix the car in a novel way. To me, the person who's reinventing how an organization is structured in a unique way, in an innovative way, is a hacker. It's someone that is looking at that problem, looking at a system, and creatively figuring out ways to improve it. Right? And, of course, that term has gotten used to refer to other people who are doing bad things.
Yeah.
In and of itself, hacking is not a bad thing. So if you think of it that way, civic hacking is about looking at civic engagement and municipal engagement and government at the state, local, and national level and saying, how can we improve this? How can we look at this system in a way and really kind of get to the heart of it and be innovative within it? And in this case, it's also in the spirit of technology. How can we do that through software and code and data?
Well, it's almost capturing the word hacking back. I think, unfortunately, it's been stolen, if you will, by the hackers who have used it for, as you say, for malfeasance rather than anything, or disruption. And in reality, basically innovation, just simply looking at something from a different perspective and taking your education or background or capabilities and adding to it. The mechanic analogy, I think, was obviously a good way to explain it. Talk a little bit though about how do you assume you can engage people to want to do this? I mean, when we're talking about, we're going to lead into the explanation of the National Day of Hacking, but now let's talk a little bit. Okay, we understand the concept of hacking. You broaden it to a much better understanding, but now let's talk about what would, we often talk, I've heard it said that in political campaigns the two biggest issues is I don't know and I don't care. Unfortunately, I think there's a lot of cases when you're dealing with the government that the average person is so busy and so chaotically involved in their quote-unquote daily lives that they don't think they can play a role. So that's part of this, right? You're actually enlisting the individual or multiple individuals to get involved in this effort?
Exactly, and I think that perception is actually that people maybe don't know and don't care actually comes from a place where they don't feel empowered to engage. And I think what we're trying to create here is a place to empower them to engage. And then when you do that, people step up. People step up, and they want to innovate. They want to be given the ability to improve their lives, their family lives, their communities' lives, their country's lives, the world. And if you give them that opportunity, people will step up to that. And that's something that we've seen time and time again through different civic hacking initiatives that have gone on around the world, such as Random Hacks of Kindness, such as NASA's International Space Apps Challenge, such as Code for America's brigade meetings that happen all around the country. That if you give people the ability to step up and take action, they want to do that. And that's actually their incentive for joining up.
Okay, so obviously the common goal is improving their community. How's that going to happen? Give us some some details on what is the National Day of Civic Hacking.
Sure. So you might think the traditional model that's been around for a number of years of when something needs to be created in the technology space to improve something in a city or in a community, some entity somewhere puts together a proposal and solicits people to send in solutions to that proposal and pays a whole bunch of money for a product that may or may not solve that solution. Sometimes it'll be great, and sometimes it won't really be great. What this looks at is kind of another way of doing that. We say, if we can actually give citizens the data and the tools behind the challenge that we're trying to solve, we can actually let them have at it and be innovative in creating the solutions that we maybe never could have even thought of in the first place. For example, I live in Philadelphia, and Philadelphia recently released an open API, it's a way to access some data, an open API to the GPS coordinates for the different public transit buses and trains around the city. And instead of saying, man, we need an app that will track these for everyone, let's hire a firm to do it, they said, well, we have a lot of civic hacking innovators in the city of Philadelphia. Let's give them the data and see what comes up out of it. And what ended up happening is multiple apps were created, some better than others, and the better ones get more use to them, and people start using that app to understand when their bus is coming, right? And it could end there, or the city government might say, hey, that app is really good. We actually want to maybe pay to make it a little more polished, and suddenly they're spending their money more effectively to get at the solution to the problem they were originally trying to solve.
Okay, so on one side you've got contributors of the data, the codes, the obvious challenge to support the event. Maybe go into a little bit of that side in terms of what you're looking for as far as, say, how a city or a state or a federal government can help, and then how do companies and organizations get involved?
Sure. So there's a lot of ways you can get involved in National Day of Civic Hacking. One, of course, is through organizing some event, and that event can be what we call a hackathon, where you bring a bunch of people together to rapidly iterate and prototype solutions to local challenges. You might host a brigade meeting where you bring together city officials and local civic hackers to discuss the release of more data sets, to discuss the challenges facing your community that could be addressed by technology. You might even bring together people to have kind of a more open-ended block party around innovation in general. So there's different ways you can get involved in terms of hosting an event. But as a private company or as a public government organization, the way you can get involved is by giving data to these people, to the people that are participating, bringing challenges to them that you think need to be solved, supporting the people that are running the event at a local and national level by contributing. There are resources that are needed to run an event, whether it's you're running one event locally or you're coordinating 70 or 80 or 90 events around the country. There is work that needs to go into it. And being the different pieces that go into the puzzle to make the whole thing successful. So we've been engaging, for example, with federal agencies at a national level to say, give us some challenges and some data sets that you'd like to see worked on. We've been engaging with cities to say, you should get connected with the local civic hackers in your city because you haven't been closely connected to them before, and you can see how you might want to see how you can work together. And we've been connecting with local companies to say, here are the innovators in your area. You should get in touch with them.
Well, I live in a remote suburb of North Atlanta. Actually, it's in the metropolitan area of Atlanta, but it's a very small, incorporated city. The reason I bring it up is that it's a microcosm of democracy. It's only made up of about 350, 400 registered voters, believe it or not, but it sits among Fulton County, which is one of the largest areas in the state. And the reason I bring it up is we can't find mutual agreement on what color to paint the civic building. How do you identify? How do you identify what area and what particular challenge to tackle, and who determines that?
That's a really good question, and I think it actually changes. For example, here in Philadelphia, we have a very vibrant civic hacking community, and we have a local government that is very engaged with that community. And I think there's been a level of trust and relationship that has been established that the government, if they say, wow, we're really looking for some solutions here, here, or here, you'll have civic hackers that want to work with the government to address those solutions. But earlier stages in these processes, it's more about citizens looking at what's around them and finding the problems that they want to solve, starting to work on those solutions, and then maybe going to the government and saying, hey, we noticed that there's this problem. Here's a prototype solution that we made for this problem. What do you think? Because we would love you to help us with this, with, giving us data for X, Y, and Z, and maybe, telling more people about this project. So I think it's about building that relationship. And one of the advantages of initiatives like this is that not everything has to be pre-decided in advance. You could come to the table and say, hey, all right, we found 10 different things that we are interested in working on. Let's get 30 people together who are software developers and designers, and let's pitch these ideas to them. And then let's actually let them work on what they're most interested in. Because these civic hackers, remember, they're not free labor. They're people that want to volunteer their time to do something meaningful and contribute something meaningful. So if you say, here's what we got, work on what you think is exciting, I think that's where you'll find the best results coming out of it.
Okay, you've used the term civic hacker several times. What is a civic hacker? Who are they?
Hacker, yeah,
obviously. Go ahead.
A civic hacker is someone in a community that is working on engaging and improving their community or their local government through technology, through design, through anything under the kind of umbrella of the hacker. I think of the hacker as a very innovative person that is highly engaged in the needs and challenges of their community.
But they're not limited to technology professionals, right? I mean, you could deal with artists or educators or even entrepreneurs, for that matter, if I get it.
Exactly. I mean, innovation and hacking in terms of innovation happens in all sorts of ways, not just within the traditional confines of technology. But it's about civic hackers or people that are looking for new and innovative ways to improve their local communities and local governments.
Okay. It's an abstract, at least to someone that's coming to it fresh, and I know that you're passionate about it. Walk us through the steps. I mean, let's just say, hypothetically, the city of Atlanta got a huge technology, very passionate technology community. Certainly the Technology Association of Georgia is one of the premier organizations, I think, now in the country as far as a membership organization dealing with technology. The members are very active, not only in their industry, but in their community. How would it look? What would be the catalyst if you were here and you were potentially looking to be a civic hacker? What would you do? How would you get started?
I think if it were me, and if you're asking me, if the question were if I were in Atlanta, how would I want to get started?
Yeah.
I mean, the first thing I would do is look around and see what other people in Atlanta are doing similar things. For example, I know that in Atlanta for the past 3 years, they've had twice a year an event called Random Acts of Kindness. And that event has been very strong in Atlanta, where a bunch of civic-minded innovators come together for a weekend and look at the problems that are faced both in Atlanta and internationally, and creatively come up with solutions for that. So the first way I'd engage is by attending one of those events and meeting those people. If maybe that didn't exist, I would start one. I would say, I want to actually get some people together that want to improve things here. Maybe I'll start with just by getting a few people in my living room and brainstorming around ideas, and then I'll bring those ideas to more people, and I'll bring those ideas to government and say, we're going to have an event. We're going to do this thing called National Day of Civic Hacking. It's actually going on all around the country, and people are looking at how to innovatively improve their local communities and governments all around the country, and we'd like you to be a part of it with us. And I would encourage, if I had the opportunity, the local city governments to come to that event, the local city governments to work with the organizers of events and understand where the passions and interests of the organizers are, in the same way that the organizers would understand the challenges and interests of the local city government, and start building those relationships.
Now, obviously, the vision is that it's, as you pointed, it's nationwide, cities across America. It's weekend of June the 1st and 2nd of 2013. But let's talk a little bit about who's behind this. Who's leading the National Day of Civic Hacking?
So National Day of Civic Hacking was crafted by a number of folks who are a partnership that are pushing it forward. The operation itself of running everything is run by myself and a team here at an organization called SecondMuse. And SecondMuse is a company that looks at how we can innovate in different areas, and some recent projects we've done in this space include something we did called the Central America Domestic Violence Hackathon. We looked at using technology to address specific challenges within domestic violence throughout Central America, working with NASA on the International Space Apps Challenge that looked at addressing how we can utilize NASA's data that they create every day to improve life on Earth and in space by tapping into citizen scientists and civic hackers around the world to say, oh, this data is great, this challenge is great. We've actually curated 50 challenges and get to work over the course of a weekend. So we do a lot of stuff in this space. But we're joined in partnership with Code for America, which specifically works with local city innovators around the country and has a brigades of civic hackers all around the country working in a number of cities. I think they'll probably have about 30 events as part of National Day of Civic Hacking. Innovation Endeavors, which is a venture capital firm headed up by Eric Schmidt of Google, who is coming to this from the perspective of how can we engage broader audiences. And they're looking at this a model of engaging people through an innovation block party to get people to understand the challenges and the values of civic hacking on a broader level. And then we're also partnering with Random Acts of Kindness, which is an international initiative to engage civic hackers in challenges around the world and coordinate that international work and create actually a global community of these innovators of civic hackers. So those are the partners there. But then the main sponsor that is making this all happen is Intel. So Intel Labs is behind this, and Intel are the ones that have kind of put the resources on the table to say, this is important, this is valuable, we want to see this happen. And Intel really understands the value of approaching open data from a framework of innovation and how you can use that framework to change how local cities and governments and organizations operate.
Now, you either are, and I'm going to assume, again, looking at it from one perspective versus another, but from your perspective, I'm sure there's a huge majority of people who know and understand and get it without any explanation. Intel certainly lends a tremendous amount of credibility. I think some of the sponsors that you mentioned and the participants that you've identified, they're helpful to those other side that still is looking at hacker and saying, is this really something that I want to get involved in simply because of the misunderstanding of the definition? I think it goes a long way to not only have opportunities to express the objective and the mission itself on programs like this, but also having some brand identification that associates to major corporations and major players that are involved in, obviously, a little bit more of a traditional approach, if you will, if that's such a term, to the technology industry and the capitalism environment that we operate in. Well, we're quickly running out of time. You mentioned a couple of sponsors. Are you looking for sponsors? Is it a case where people can help sponsor the program?
Yes, we are. We are looking for more for sponsors that would want to come on and support this initiative, especially on the national level, because we want this initiative to continue to live on beyond just National Day of Civic Hacking, and supporting and sustaining the impact that comes out of it is going to be really important. So we're looking for people that can partner with us to get involved before National Day, sponsor the initiative, and help and strategize with us and work with us to develop the impact that will emerge.
Well, the next obvious question is, got a website that we can connect to get more information?
Yep, you can go to hackforchange.org. It's all spelled out, hackforchange.org.
Well, it's a lofty aspiration. It's one that sounds like it's got the prospects of a pretty exponential connectivity that get people involved. There's nothing like empowering the individual and certainly giving them a form and a method to, especially in terms of impacting their community and their government. Really, really, really interesting concept, innovative concept.